to your life. In this case, you are completely anonymous. You are as anonymous as a priest is anonymous. And that is, I think, what is the greatness in that remark, that the surrender of identity, the surrender of a career, the surrender of a future, the total surrender to something that is your life is exactly what is being described. But even beyond that, I think if you went into, for instance, if you took the position, which is a very painful thing to say, but I think if any East Indian writer in the Caribbean, if a Chinese writer in the Caribbean, or an African writer in the Caribbean writes, particularly a poem, that what that poem is doing is not validating, but in some way, and not reprieving, but in some way, in some non-moral, some kind of way that isn't on moral territory or historical territory, explaining what has happened or the point at which one has reached through the middle passage in the case of the African, the indenture in the case of the Indian, or whatever else in the case of the Chinese person. So that expression for one's ancestors is not only for the poetic ancestors, but also for the history of the particular race that one is talking about. And I consider the thing to be absolutely true and very admirable, the statement.
What the verse does, in a sense, it says to all of those who are not anymore physically present, you are still here. That is, well, a poet who writes today, he, in spite even of himself, says, well, whatever it is, to the 17th century, to 16th, to antiquity, you are still here. To Don, to Ovid, to Dante, you are still here. Well, you haven't disappeared. That's what you do. That's what the job of a poet is, to carry this sort of thing on. Yeah? And it's not only poets, Derek was absolutely right. Those people who never had a chance perhaps to articulate themselves. An interesting development has taken place in at the turn of our era, which we call, well, AD, in Rome. A similar almost development that has taken place in 1910 and 1917 in Russia. Well, in Rome, during the so-called Augustan period, they emerged four, to say the least, that we know a bit more, but four absolutely great, mind-bogglingly great poets. I'm talking about Virgil, Ovid, Horace, well, and I would select Propertius, the expense of Tibullus. That's me, yeah. Well, the reason it happened, I think, well, this is going to be a somewhat sentimental explanation. Almost sentimental. Well, sentimentalist, in fact, explanation. It may sound totally silly. Well, that period preceded by a great period of the wars to which Augustus put the end, as it were, etc., etc. So those people, it almost gives you a feeling that those people who couldn't articulate themselves have been articulated by those four poets, yeah? Similarly, well, at the turn of the century, Russia produced four great poets. Well, as though in the anticipation of the carnage lying ahead. So that the people would have their spokesman. And it's remarkable that in each case, in the sense, there were four, because they can be sort of subdivided according to their temperaments. Sanguinic, choleric, melancholic, and what's the other one? Well, the last one, right? I don't remember. Huh? Sanguinic, choleric, melancholic, and, well, phlegmatic, yeah. And, well, poets in general, well, could be divided in these categories, yeah. Well, so each category, each temperament, each humor is represented.
I'm afraid time is running ahead of us. To end, I would say something that you both have stressed, I think, is that poetry is without intentions and without conditions.
Это не меня надо спрашивать, а надо спрашивать представителя правительства Мальванского. И она знает, что у меня, я точно не знаю, то есть мне кто-то сказал, По-моему.
Vi går ner från scenen sen direkt. I 5 minuter ska nästa börja här, så att...
Thank you. Yeah. Hello, I'm just walking. Just 1 second, yeah. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Yes. No. That's fine by me. No. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Då. А сейчас я не знаю, сейчас должны, если перерыв, после гостиницы что-нибудь выпьем или по крайней мере сидим. Зачем мне надо найти Камилу? Потому что Камила, это который занимается моим временем. Jonas, what am I supposed to do right now?
Now it's a short TV interview.
Short TV interview, yeah.
And then we'll go to the hotel.
And then we'll go to the hotel.
Inte idag. Imorgon eller övermorgon, men inte idag.
Det är ingen bråd.
Nej, bra.
Jag vet vad lyssnare de frågar på.
På lördag.
Hello, Mr. Parker. Welcome. We met, you know, here in Gothenburg. I invited you to the fair.
Halv 11, 10:30.